For better or for worse, us gamers, we are very, very passionate people. If a studio turns out an incredible game and does right by us, we stand up, we cheer, and we treat them like rock stars, because they are rock stars. These games are not easy to make, but when they give each game the love and care that they deserve, it's a beautiful thing. Now, when they fail to meet our expectations, or if we feel like there is some foul play involved, oh boy, it can get ugly, and we give them shit. Gamers have no problem speaking their minds and calling out bullshit. The latest debacle in the gaming industry that's causing somewhat of an uproar is, of course, Mass Effect Andromeda. The core complaint right now is that while there is a semblance of a good game underneath it all with Mass Effect Andromeda's competent and fluid combat system, its leveling system, things like the beautiful environments and artistic direction, the pivotal role-playing and narrative aspects of the game is unfortunately marred by poorly written dialogue, stilted body animations, and downright awful facial animations. Not to mention the general lack of polish and the bugs that permeate throughout the whole experience. Now, I know there are some people who are willing to overlook Mass Effect Andromeda's facial animations and what have you. I know a few friends of mine are actually having a really good time with this game, and I've seen some people in the comments in a few of my videos that they are having a good time themselves. But for others like myself, the shortcomings in dialogue and animation really are a huge blow for an experience that is so heavily driven by story and narrative and role-playing. These things just really take me out of this type of experience. It's especially unacceptable when you consider that the game's had 5 years of development time, it's got a significant budget of $40 million, and it's shipping at a retail price of $60. We are being asked to pay $60 for a game that clearly needs more time in the oven. And the gaming community is having none of it. Both large and small media outlets, both conglomerates and communities and personalities have taken to their respective outlets to essentially shun the kind of practices that we're seeing today in the gaming industry. From what I've seen, most people have taken to sharing constructive and productive criticisms and outrage even, but there are others who have taken it a bit too far with insults, death threats, and rape threats, which is... And look, I have no problems calling out names, calling out specific people for certain mistakes or what have you, but in my experience, insults and threats have never really been a productive form of protest. One great example of the gaming community coming together and banding together was when Don Mattrick was head of Xbox One. The gaming community spoke very loudly at E3 2013 when Microsoft delivered a truly awful conference for Xbox One, which then Sony capitalized on to deliver one of the most epic conferences of all time with the PlayStation 4. This was when audiences went absolutely ballistic and cheered for Sony because they allowed us free reign over how we use and play used games, and they didn't require weird restrictions like having to be always online to use the console and play games. Weird shit that Don Mattrick implemented, and we called Don Mattrick out for it, and as a result, next thing you know, Don Mattrick leaves Microsoft to work for Zynga or whatever the fuck, and Phil Spencer, a much better head of Xbox, took his place. Our voices were heard, and it might have saved Xbox One from a potential path of ruination. So absolutely, raising our voices, making our voices heard is pivotal. It is absolutely important in this day and age. But I'd like to raise two important points. One, it is important that we call out the right person. I know there's this whole controversy behind one of the lead animators for Mass Effect Andromeda being this cosplayer or whatever, a lady going by the name of Ali Rose Marie Liost. And look, I don't know all the details, and BioWare has done a really bad job in communicating what the hell went wrong. She does work at Electronic Arts, and she does do work with facial animations, but at the very least, she wasn't some lead in facial animations for this particular game. I think this whole debacle began when somebody spotted that Ali's Twitter account listed her as the lead facial animator for Mass Effect Andromeda. And I don't know how the hell a mistake like this happens. BioWare claims that she wasn't involved as lead animator in any way, shape, or form, and this caused a lot of confusion, but despite people's claims, there is no actual tangible evidence that she was the lead facial animator for Mass Effect Andromeda. In fact, if you go ahead and check out Mass Effect Andromeda's credits, all of the leads are not this Allie person. I checked out all the leads in the animation department, and none of them are Allie. So look, while I understand the outrage over the game's facial animations, I do think there is a way to express it more civilly without threats and insults. And I also think it's important that we call out the right people. Now, onto my second point, we can use all the words we want and we can lash our anger at specific individuals, but there's a far more impactful way of hitting these companies who continue to exploit these kinds of practices. You know, releasing half-cooked games on day one and charging full price for it, hoping that they'll fix or complete the rest of the game with future patches. There's a better way to hit these guys. You have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's the publishers who have the most influence. EA, Ubisoft, you name it. It's these guys who we have to directly affect to make any kind of difference. And these publishers, at their core, are a business. They're a business first and game developers second. The game studios are the ones who are making games, and then the publishers are the ones funding the games, and they're the ones who lay out the schedule and whatnot. So publishers have a lot of power, and their goal isn't necessarily to make the best game possible, it's to maximize profits. That's why they will sometimes rush out games, because it's the appropriate time to release a game like this, rather than delay it and make the game better for us gamers. It's all about the money. The only language these publishers speak is money, so we hit them where it really matters. The money. You can shell out all the insults in the world against the company, but none of it will matter if they're still making money, if they're still raking in profit from the same scheme over and over. The reason Don Mattrick was ousted wasn't just because we were angry at him, it was because he was negatively affecting Microsoft's potential to make money. After we called out Don Mattrick for his bullshit, all that negative PR affected the sales expectations of Xbox One. That's in the end at the core of what made them flinch. The reason Call of Duty games continue to get away with rehashed shit every year is because they continue to make money. It doesn't matter how many insults you hurl at Call of Duty or how low the user score is in Metacritic. If people continue to buy these products and their DLCs and continue to encourage these practices, these guys have nothing to lose, really. The insults go on deaf ears and these guys continue to rake in money. I think the first major blow to that Call of Duty trend was Infinite Warfare, which failed to meet expectations and began to finally show a downwards trend for that franchise. And these guys flinched by not buying their games, by not giving them our money, by influencing their profits, by speaking their language, money. We have made them flinch. We have made them finally pay attention. Same thing goes for Mass Effect Andromeda. You can hurl all the insults you want, but at the end of the day, if the game were to make a shit ton of money, and if it were to succeed in sales and meet all of the sales expectations, all of those insults would probably go on deaf ears, particularly on the publisher side of things. The studios obviously care more about the game itself, the guys who actually make the games, but the publishers who are all about the funding and the money aspect of things, those guys just care about the money. Fortunately, we are making a difference with games like Mass Effect Andromeda. Turns out, media and community coverage of Mass Effect Andromeda's unacceptable shortcomings were very damaging to its sales. Thanks to the outcry of us gamers, especially those who didn't just hurl threats, but actually informed the audience what the hell was going on, what kind of foul play was going on. These guys have spread the word, and as a result, consumers have decided, I'm not gonna fall for this shit. I'm not gonna buy Mass Effect Andromeda. And guess what? EA is flinching. We got to their money. A couple days ago, a variety of media outlets reported that Mass Effect Andromeda failed to top Mass Effect 3 sales in the UK when it comes to physical copies. Granted, there are more people buying digitally in this day and age versus physical, especially when it comes to PC. And we still don't know what Mass Effect Andromeda's digital sales look like, but we are seeing signs that people aren't taking to this bullshit. Also, in the days before the game's launch, and even in a few days after, Andromeda went on sale in a variety of big outlets. These outlets include Amazon and Newegg, and there were a variety of articles from various media outlets that detailed where you can find Mass Effect Andromeda for a cheaper price. This shit is unprecedented for a AAA title. The last time this happened was when EA launched Titanfall 2. That game failed to meet sales expectations, and next thing you know, a month later, there's already a sale for like 50% off. That is clear sign that the game isn't selling quite as well as EA thought it would. Now, Andromeda did come in at #1 in the UK charts, but saying that's a success is like saying Batman v Superman is a success because it raked in close to $1 billion. See, it's not about raw numbers, it's about sales expectations. Batman v Superman, that movie topped charts and it raked in like $872 million, which is not an insignificant sum. But see, it's all about the sales expectations. That movie should have raked in over $1 billion. But because of the negative reviews, the word of mouth, the movie failed to meet sales expectations, and as a result, Warner Brothers flinched. They said, maybe we should try something different next time. And now with Mass Effect Andromeda, yes, it might be doing really well when it comes to raw numbers, but it's showing signs that when it comes to sales expectations, it's not doing so hot. It's not selling as well as they originally intended to. In other words, there are clear signs we are hitting their money. And you know, that's how you give them the best fuck you. Instead of actually typing fuck you on Twitter and expecting that to get anywhere because it will most likely fall on deaf ears, the best fuck you can give them is by informing those around you of any possible foul play involved in a game's launch, and then as a consumer, just be patient, wait it out, see if this game meets expectations, if it meets the standards that it needs to, wait for proper coverage on it, and then push that purchase button. Was it Sun Tzu or Bruce Lee who said something about the art of fighting without fighting? By not doing shit, by not going out of your way to purchase a game like Mass Effect Andromeda, you're saying, fuck you, we are hitting them where it matters, the money. And look, I don't revel in seeing a game fail, especially when it's a beloved franchise like Mass Effect. People wanted this game to succeed. Frankly, it's why they're so mad. We actually care. As they say, the opposite of love isn't hate, but not caring. It's not that we don't care about this game, it's just that we hate how it launched and how EA fucked this game over and this series over. And look, I'm sure there are legitimately passionate people over at BioWare who really wanted to make this game the best it could be under the circumstances. But regardless, when a company sells a product to consumers, they have a certain responsibility, and lately, these companies, these publishers have become way more lax when it comes to those responsibilities. If they're gonna have us shell out $60 of our hard-earned money, there are certain standards that need to be met, and the shitty animations, the bugs, the general unpolished nature of the game just simply isn't acceptable, especially when it's a AAA title, especially when it's a beloved franchise that already has 3 great games before it. So I mean, the ones who have been anticipating this game for years, the hardcore fans, yeah, they have a right to complain when the wait wasn't worth it. Seeing games like Mass Effect Andromeda is what makes me appreciate companies and studios like CD Red Project or Nintendo. You know, they delayed their games until it was absolutely ready, despite the risks that come with delaying a game. Breath of the Wild in particular, that game was delayed like 2-3 years, I don't even know, I lost count. But in the end, it was worth it. That game is so amazing and so polished. Nintendo actually did right by us gamers, and they shipped the game complete and polished, and now it's one of the highest rated games of all time, and it's selling really well to boot, which is well deserved. Whereas with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Mass Effect Andromeda, we live in a world where information spreads really fast, and so more and more people are beginning to resist the urge of giving into publishers' foul play and bullshit. We say, no, you're not gonna meet your sales expectations because you did not do right by us. We're not complete idiots. You can hurl all the insults you want, but at the end of the day, we have to inform others. We have to make our voices heard. We call out the right people without all the unnecessary death threats and all that shit. We give the finger to video game publishers by making their games go on sale. We say fuck you in the only language these publishers know how to speak: money. All right, so that's pretty much it for my thoughts on how you can fight the good fight. Now, this is just my opinion. Let us know in the comments below what you think. You might have some interesting insight to offer that I'd love to hear. Discuss away in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.